The air was thin on Zephyra IX, dry with ancient dust and heavy with silence. The ruins stretched like fossilized bones under a crimson sky, their broken arches casting jagged shadows across the blackened earth. Dr. Elira Voss knelt beside a cluster of alien glyphs, her fingers hovering just above the glowing symbols etched into a weathered stone slab. Each mark pulsed faintly, like the echo of a heartbeat long since stilled. Behind her, Captain Ryan Thorne stood with arms folded, his gaze scanning the horizon. His armor, matte gray and streaked with wear, barely moved as the wind hissed between the shattered columns. He wasn't interested in the glyphs. His concern lay with what might be watching them from the surrounding dunes. "This place feels wrong," he muttered, his voice low, tense. Elira didn't look up. "It feels old. There's a difference." They'd been on the surface for only 4 hours, and already the expedition's unease had begun to show. Elira could feel it, a subtle pressure behind her eyes. The closer they came to the artifact's signal, the heavier the atmosphere grew. Even Kiva, their AI assistant, had begun to misinterpret environmental data, an anomaly Elira wasn't ready to admit unsettled her. "Kiva," she said, standing, "analyze the glyph pattern. Compare it to the Elyari language base." The AI's voice hummed from her wrist device. "Running comparative analysis. Preliminary match. 82%. These symbols reference containment and awakening." Thorne scoffed. "Awakening? That's comforting." Elira gave him a look. "You wanted answers. This is the language of the Elyari. No human has ever seen this before. We're making history." He nodded, but his expression remained tight. "Just make sure history doesn't bite back." They pressed deeper into the ruins. The temple structure ahead loomed like a monolith, 4 towering spires surrounding a circular dais, its center marked by a sphere of obsidian suspended in mid-air. Lightning arced across its surface, dancing like nerves under skin. This was the source. As they stepped onto the dais, the sphere reacted. The hum of energy surged, lifting Elira's hair with static. A low tone filled the air, subsonic and bone-deep. Kiva's voice crackled. "Warning. Energy spike detected. Unknown frequency." The moment Elira's hand brushed the air near the sphere, it pulsed. White light exploded from its core, flooding the platform. The world dissolved into soundless white, and then, images. Not memories. Not dreams. Something older. She stood in a chamber of golden light, surrounded by figures tall and robed, their faces hidden by swirling masks. They spoke without sound, their thoughts cascading into her mind. Stars collapsing, worlds dying, a weapon forged from a dying star's heart. The sphere. The artifact. Then she was back, gasping, stumbling away from the dais. Thorne caught her before she hit the ground. "Elira." She blinked, the vision still burning behind her eyes. "It spoke to me." Thorne's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean, it?" "It showed me things. The Elyari. They built this. They sealed something inside it." Thorne looked at the sphere. Its glow had dimmed, but not died. "Sealed what?" She hesitated. "I'm not sure. But it called itself the awakening key." Before he could respond, Kiva interrupted. "Alert! Energy signature from the artifact is propagating. Nearby ruins are activating. Suggest immediate extraction or further investigation." The ground rumbled. All around them, ancient pylons ignited with light, casting pillars of energy into the sky. The ruins weren't ruins anymore. They were waking up. Thorne looked to Elira. "You still think this was just history?" She didn't answer. Her thoughts spun in a dozen directions. The Elyari had vanished thousands of years ago without a trace. No one knew why. If this artifact was the key to understanding their fate, then it could change everything, humanity's understanding of the universe, of power, of extinction. But what if it was never meant to be found? Elira met Thorne's gaze. "We can't leave. Not yet." He nodded slowly, against his better judgment. "Then let's hope we're ready for what comes next." The descent into the subterranean vault was steep, cut by hands far older than any human memory. The air thickened as they moved downward, heavy with the scent of mineral dust and the faint hum of dormant power. Lights from Elira's wrist display bounced off curved walls etched with intricate alien patterns, glyphs woven like threads into the very stone, alive with a subtle bioluminescence that pulsed as they passed. Thorn moved ahead, his weapon drawn, the beam of his rifle sweeping the dark. He didn't like being underground. Not where gravity played tricks and silence pressed in like a physical weight. Behind him, Elira studied every line on the walls, her mind assembling meanings from fragments, like reconstructing a shattered star map. "Kiva," she whispered, "run a semantic overlay on this sequence. I think we're near the core archive." Overlay complete. Language architecture consistent with prior samples. Interpreting central phrase, all memory sleeps where the echo waits. "That's poetic," Thorn muttered. "Too poetic for a warning." Elira stopped. Her hand hovered over a circular panel set into the wall. The pattern resembled the artifact's surface, interlocked spirals surrounded by spoked lines. She didn't need Kiva to tell her this was a control interface. Something told her. A sensation, like memory, only it wasn't hers. Without speaking, she pressed her palm against the stone. The floor vibrated beneath them. A seam opened with a hiss, revealing a staircase descending into flickering blue light. Thorn stepped back, raising his rifle. "I swear, if we're walking into another hallucination." "It's not a hallucination," she said softly. "It's a memory." They followed the stairs into a domed chamber the size of a stadium, its ceiling stretching beyond sight. In the center, suspended by beams of light, floated a crystalline structure, an immense neural lattice, its nodes blinking like a slow heartbeat. The archive. Elira stepped toward it, reverent. "It's a mind," she whispered. "A repository of Elyari consciousness. Fragments, stitched together." Kiva's voice emerged, lower than usual. "Confirmed. Neural architecture consistent with quantum memory encoding. Warning, encryption is active. Interface risks unknown." Thorn narrowed his eyes. "You're thinking of connecting, aren't you?" "I have to," Elira said. "We're not going to understand what this place is, or what that artifact really does, unless we know what happened to them." He said nothing. The light from the lattice painted her face in shifting shades of violet and blue, casting deep shadows beneath her eyes. She looked more Elyari now than human. Something in her presence stretched thin, like a signal caught between frequencies. She stepped forward and closed her eyes. Pain lanced through her skull. Sharp, brilliant. Her breath caught. Then came the flood. She stood in a city of glass and air, towers spiraling into a green sky. Elyari moved with grace, minds connected in a web of thought and purpose. She saw children playing in zero-gravity gardens, engineers sculpting orbiting monuments with starlight. Peace. Harmony. But under it all, fear. A voice, ancient and fractured, poured into her. Not words. Impressions. The Elyari had tapped into a force they barely understood, a dying star, its mind fractured but aware, its rage bound inside the artifact. They'd hoped to contain it, to learn from it. But it infected them instead. Dreams twisted. Memories rotted. Civilizations collapsed from within. To stop the spread, they had sealed the memory vault. Cut themselves off from their own history. Elira fell to her knees. Thorn rushed to her side. "What did you see?" She gasped, voice hoarse. "They didn't die in war. They erased themselves. All of them. To stop what they had awakened." He stared at her. "You mean that thing in the artifact, it's alive?" "Yes. And it's not Elyari. It's something else." Kiva spoke again, its tone cautious. "Archive interface destabilizing. Recommend retreat." Before they could move, the chamber shuddered. Above them, the lattice cracked, thin lines of light fracturing across its surface. A low tone filled the vault, matching the artifact's earlier frequency. The neural network was unraveling. Elira scrambled to her feet. "It knows we're here." The artifact, it sensed the connection. Thorn activated his comm, Thorn to orbit team. "We need extraction now." No response. Kiva's voice returned, clipped. Communication systems offline. External interference from artifact signature spike. The way they came had already sealed behind them. Elira turned, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. It's waking up, Ryan. It's not just memory. It's a warning system, a failsafe, and we've tripped it. He looked at her, saw the fire behind her exhaustion, the purpose etched into her every word. She wasn't just an explorer now. She was a conduit. A link between two species, one extinct, the other standing on the same precipice. He nodded once. Then we'd better figure out how to shut it down. And the vault went dark. The surface of Zephyra IX was no longer dormant. The sky had fractured into streaks of violet lightning, and gravity shifted in pulses, as though the planet itself were breathing. Spires once buried beneath sand now pierced the atmosphere, glowing with an eerie, pulsating rhythm that matched the artifact's energy signature. Whatever containment the Elyari had constructed was unraveling. Elira stood at the edge of the central chamber, her silhouette outlined by the immense sphere of the artifact now fully illuminated. Lightning forked inside it like veins of light trapped in crystal. Her skin shimmered faintly, residual energy threading through her veins from the connection with the Elyari archive. She hadn't slept in 2 days, but her mind felt sharper than ever. Thorn paced behind her, tense, scanning their surroundings. We're cut off from the extraction team. Comms are fried. The energy output's off the charts. We need a plan. I have one, she said, without turning. We need to initiate the second phase. Thorn froze. You mean activate it? After what you saw in the archive? Elira turned to face him, and something in her gaze made him pause. Not fear, resolve. We're past the point of control. The artifact is partially awake. If we don't guide the process, it might complete on its own. Or worse, lash out without form or purpose. You're assuming it can be guided. I'm assuming it remembers me. Kiva's voice crackled to life. Analysis supports Dr. Voss's hypothesis. The artifact shows adaptive response to her neurological signature. Probability of partial control, 63.4%. And the probability it turns her into ash. A pause. 27.1%. Thorn swore under his breath. Great. They descended into the heart of the temple again, deeper than before. The inner sanctum had changed. Walls that once lay dormant now pulsed with color and pattern, like a living circuit. At its center, a raised platform hovered above the floor, suspended by beams of light that bent around it unnaturally. The merge interface. Elira stepped forward. She could feel it calling her now, not in words, but in harmonics, like music just outside human range. It wasn't just a machine. It was aware. Waiting. Ryan, she said quietly, if this goes wrong, you know what to do. He stared at her. Yeah. Run. No. Shut it down. He didn't answer. His jaw clenched. Elira stepped onto the platform. As soon as she did, the artifact responded. Threads of light extended from its surface, weaving through the air toward her. They wrapped around her wrists, her temples, her spine. She closed her eyes. Contact. Her mind plunged into an ocean of memory not her own. Stars being born, collapsing, reforming. Voices that spoke in pulses of radiation and magnetic storms. She saw the Elyari again, only now she was one of them, a scientist named Elyari, pleading with her peers to shut down the experiment. She felt the terror when the star thought breached containment, felt her body fracture under the weight of cosmic awareness. She saw how they tried to save themselves by uploading their minds into the vault, only to discover that their minds were no longer their own. The voice emerged from the core, vast and slow like a celestial tide. You are not Elyari, yet you carry their echo. Why do you seek the awakening? Elira focused. To understand. To stop what you are from spreading. I am not a plague. I am memory. I am entropy remembered. You destroyed them. They destroyed themselves. In fear of what they might become. I offered evolution. They chose silence. Will you? Her body shuddered on the platform. Thorn stepped closer, uncertain. The energy field intensified, casting long shadows that moved independently of their sources. Kiva's voice cut through. Energy escalation accelerating. Host-body interface reaching phase threshold. Elira opened her eyes. They glowed. "No," she whispered. "I won't choose silence." She let go. A surge erupted through the chamber, waves of light and sound folding space inward. Thorn shielded his face as the artifact spun wildly, its shell fragmenting into geometric shards that hovered and reformed into a halo of light. At the center floated Elira, her form suspended, untouched, eyes wide with starlight. And then it stopped. Silence returned, vast and full. The artifact's core had dimmed, its outer shell collapsed into a crystalline ring around the platform. Elira hovered there for a breath longer, then lowered gently to the floor. Thorn approached, hesitating. "Elira." She looked at him, and for a moment he wasn't sure who, or what, was looking back. But then her mouth curved into a tired smile. "It worked," she said. "It's contained. For now." "What is it?" "A memory. A remnant of a dying star's mind. The Elyari didn't build the artifact to destroy it. They built it to preserve it. They thought they could learn from it. Guide it. And now," she touched her temple, "now it remembers me. And I remember it." Kiva's tone was careful. Artifact signature stabilized. Host integration incomplete, but symbiotic equilibrium achieved. Thorn holstered his weapon. That sounded almost optimistic. Elira stepped off the platform. "We've bought time. But this wasn't the only one." He stared at her. "What do you mean?" Her eyes flickered once more with distant stars. "The others, they're still sleeping." And the planet groaned, as if something deep beneath it had just turned in its sleep. They ascended from the sanctum in silence, the temple's walls now quiet, watching. The artifact had calmed, its core subdued to a slow rhythmic pulse, a sleeping heart waiting for its next breath. But the change was undeniable. The entire structure hummed with latent energy, no longer ruin but reawakening machine. Elira walked with a new gravity, each step measured, her thoughts spiraling through the remnants of alien consciousness still echoing in her mind. Thorn kept pace beside her, wary. Since the integration, Elira had barely spoken. Her movements were still hers, her face still hers, but there was something else behind her eyes now, something vast and distant. He wasn't sure whether it terrified him more than what lay buried beneath the surface of this world. Kiva broke the silence. Orbital interference clearing. Communications partially restored. Emergency signal locked. Extraction in T-60 minutes. Elira stopped at the edge of the shattered causeway, where once buried pylons now stood aligned like sentinels. Beyond them, the horizon pulsed with alien light, constellations unfamiliar, distant, and yet somehow known. She looked upward, not at the sky, but beyond it. "There are more," she said, her voice distant. "The Elyari called them echoes. Each artifact is a shard, a memory fragment seeded across systems, part of a network. They weren't just studying the entity. They were preparing it for something larger." Thorn frowned. "You're saying this wasn't a containment project? It was transmission. A message. A being trying to survive its own death. Not as matter, but as idea." He rubbed a hand down his face, exasperated. "This thing infects memories. Whole civilizations. And now it's in you." "I'm not infected," she said calmly. "I'm connected. That's different." "It's a thin line, Elira." She didn't disagree. A tremor rumbled beneath their feet, faint, but unmistakable. It passed like a warning sigh through the stone. The temple's lights flickered once, then steadied. Kiva's sensors spiked. Seismic shift detected. Deep crustal movement. Artifact lattice extending subterranean influence. Thorn looked to Elira. "Is it spreading?" She hesitated. "No. It's reaching. Communicating." "To what?" Her answer was a whisper. "The others." A silence followed, deeper than before. They had unearthed not just an artifact, but a neural antenna, a bridge to a consciousness that had once spanned galaxies. If there were more of these scattered across the stars, then this awakening was only the beginning. And Elira was now a part of it. Kiva's voice cut through again. "Incoming signal. Long-range ping from research vessel Ardent Dawn. Awaiting response." Thorn exhaled. Finally. Let's get off this rock. But Elira didn't move. She gazed at the platform one last time, then turned to Thorn. I need to stay. He blinked. Come again. This place, this artifact, it's only the first chapter. If I leave now, we lose what little understanding we've gained. But if I stay, I can keep the connection stable. Learn more. Translate the rest of the archive. You just merged with something no humans ever survived. And now you want to volunteer for round 2. She smiled, faintly. You've always underestimated my threshold for danger. His jaw clenched. And if it changes you again? If the thing in your head decides you're the one that needs rewriting? She stepped closer. Then I need someone up there to stop me. For a moment, he was silent. Then, reluctantly, he handed her a small device from his belt, a beacon trigger. One press, and I'll come back down. Whether you're still you or not. Deal. The rumble of an approaching shuttle echoed across the ruins, sleek and unfamiliar against the age-worn architecture. The extraction team had arrived, but only one of them would leave. As Thorn turned toward the descending vessel, he paused. You sure about this? Elira nodded. This thing wanted a voice. I intend to be its interpreter, not its puppet. He gave her one last look, hard, but laced with trust, and then disappeared into the light of the shuttle bay. The engines flared, rising with a roar that echoed against the temple's bones. Within minutes, he was gone. Elira stood alone, surrounded by the whispering hum of a civilization lost and the stirrings of one that had never fully died. She walked back toward the artifact's core, her reflection mirrored in its smooth surface. In the silence, it spoke again, no words, just thought. Recognition. You remain. She placed her hand on the ring of crystal. So do you. The lights dimmed once more, and the temple listened. Far above, aboard the ardent dawn, Thorn watched the planet shrink into shadow. He didn't say a word. Not yet. Because somewhere deep inside him, he knew this wasn't the end. It was the opening of a door that should never have existed.